A vivid scene unfolds. Birds suddenly go quiet, the air cools, and the midday sky begins to darken. People stop what they're doing and look up. Narrator, voiceover. Imagine the sun overhead. Then imagine it slows, darkens and stops. The light disappears, and the daytime sky falls silent. Aboriginal elders say this has happened before, and that when it did, everything changed. They call it the day the sun stopped moving. Today, we're telling that story, the forgotten Aboriginal eclipse legend. If you love hidden histories and cosmic mysteries, hit like now and share this yarn with a mate, because by the end, you may never look at the sun the same way again. The narrator introduces the theme in a calm, reflective tone. For tens of thousands of years, Aboriginal Australians have watched the heavens. Their stories about the sun, moon and stars carry law, ethics and science woven together. In many Dreamtime stories, the sun is a woman, a life giver, traveling across the sky each day. The moon is often a man, chasing her across the heavens. Eclipses, when the sun seems to vanish, are explained as moments of confrontation or warning. Ancient myths from cultures around the world speak of eclipses. Vikings believed wolves chased and swallowed the sun. The ancient Chinese feared a dragon devouring it. In Australia, some Aboriginal groups said eclipses happened when the sun and moon embraced, breaking strict law. Others saw it as punishment when humans defied sacred rules. Throughout this video, we'll explore how those stories connect to real experiences and to modern science. Along the way, we'll hear from astronomers who have listened to elders and learned that these stories aren't just legend. They're a profound record of astronomical knowledge. By the end of this journey, you'll see why the day the sun stopped moving still echoes through time. Open with a narrative. A grandmother sits with her grandchildren, telling them about the day the sun disappeared. She speaks in third person, describing how the entire community gathered, eyes wide. In Yolngu culture from Arnhem Land, one story says the Sun Woman stopped because two brothers broke a sacred taboo. They killed and ate a kingfish they weren't allowed to touch. Angered, the ancestral spirits shrouded the sun in darkness, plunging the world into night. The elders instructed the people to sing and dance to apologize. When they did, the sun returned. In another version, told by Wirangu elders of South Australia, the sun and moon are husband and wife. When the husband disrespected his wife, she turned away, causing a solar eclipse. Only when he promised to correct his ways did she show her face again. These stories aren't just myths, they show how entire communities responded to real eclipses. An elder from the Arunta people once recounted how children were rushed into shelters, fires were lit, and everyone beat drums and sang, urging the sun to come back. He said the memory was passed down from his grandfather, who had seen an eclipse himself. This collective response created a ritual that calmed fear and reinforced social rules. Respect the law, share with your kin, and the sun will keep moving. Loop. Those rituals may have done more than comfort. They may have preserved precise details about eclipses that science would later confirm. Shift tone slightly. The narrator notes that modern astronomers first dismissed these stories as pure superstition, but then researchers like Dr. Dwayne Hamaker began listening closely. He and other scientists learned that some Dreamtime stories described the alignment of sun and moon with striking accuracy. For example, Yolngu stories say the sun and moon are lovers who meet only during an eclipse. This isn't simply poetic. It mirrors the modern understanding that a solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes directly between Earth and the sun, temporarily blocking its light. In 2006, Hamacher met an elder from Elcho Island who explained that the moon chases the sun because he is jealous of her light. When they finally catch each other, darkness falls. The elder also noted that the moon's face changes because he's sometimes fat and sometimes thin, a beautiful way of describing lunar phases. Science also tells us that solar eclipses follow cycles called Saros cycles, patterns repeating approximately every 18 years. Aboriginal people, without telescopes or equations, knew that eclipses could be predicted. Some stories speak of people preparing for the sun's darkening long before it happened, indicating they recognized a pattern. Another scientist, Dr. Ray Norris, wrote that some groups used eclipses as calendars. He recounted the experience of a young anthropologist who accompanied elders during an eclipse in the 1920s. The elders knew it was coming and told the anthropologist to prepare. When the sky went dark, they recited the story of the brothers and the kingfish, reinforcing law at the very moment science explained the phenomenon. Loop. If elders predicted eclipses without modern tools, what else do their stories contain? Hold that thought for later. The next section examines how eclipse stories teach law and ethics. In many Aboriginal traditions, the sun is a woman who lights the world by carrying a torch across the sky. The moon is a man who sometimes steals her light. When a solar eclipse occurs, some groups say the moon has caught the sun. That meeting is forbidden, representing a breach of cosmic law. The community's reaction becomes part of the moral lesson. The people must make amends, apologize, share food and water, and show respect. Only then will the Sun Woman forgive and continue her daily journey. Analogies make these concepts feel relatable. Consider how a family might dim the lights during a movie night to create focus and unity. For ancient communities, the eclipse forced everyone to stop and concentrate on the law. It was a cosmic time out, a moment to reflect on what matters and how their behavior affects the world. A recorded story from a Tiwi elder tells of two sisters who were jealous of each other. They fought, and their argument created an eclipse, casting their island into shadow. The elders separated the sisters, taught them forgiveness, and the sun returned. This story reminds young people that jealousy and violence bring darkness. Only reconciliation restores light. These narratives were passed on through ceremonies, songs, and dances. They tied moral conduct to natural phenomena, making ethics a matter of cosmic survival. Loop, those ethics weren't just cultural. They had practical consequences too. Here, talk about how oral traditions can preserve memories of eclipses for thousands of years. Anthropologists believe some Dreamtime stories are at least 10,000 years old. Scholars have dated oral accounts of sea level rise and volcanic eruptions to specific events in the distant past. One powerful example comes from the Lutruwita, Tasmania. Researchers found a story about a time when the island was connected to the mainland and people could walk across. The story matched geological evidence that the Bass Strait land bridge disappeared around 10,000 years ago. This suggests that stories can remain accurate for millennia. Similarly, some eclipse stories may reference specific events. A 1922 total solar eclipse passed over Central Australia. Written reports mention Aboriginal communities performing rituals and retelling legends during the eclipse. Elders later passed those memories to children who shared them with researchers like Hamacha 70 years later. Imagine an elder telling his grandson about the day the sun was swallowed. He describes how birds went silent, stars appeared, and the air grew cold, details matching scientific observations. The grandson remembers his grandfather's voice, his smell, the crackle of the fire. When he becomes an elder, he repeats the story. Over generations, those sensory details keep the memory vivid. This section ends with a reflection. The eclipse legend is more than a metaphor. It could be a literal memory preserved for centuries. Now, bring in tangible evidence that supports these stories. Rock engravings and paintings across Australia show celestial symbols. Some depict the sun and moon as intertwined circles. In the Northern Territory, there's a rock painting with a figure holding a disc over another figure, interpreted by some researchers as a solar eclipse. Stone arrangements have been found aligned with the positions where the sun rises and sets at solstices. While none has been conclusively linked to eclipses, the precision indicates a sophisticated understanding of the sky. If such knowledge existed for solstices, it's plausible people tracked eclipses too. Add a third-person anecdote. A field researcher once met a Wiradjuri elder who traced patterns on the ground with a stick, showing how the sun's shadow moved during an eclipse. The elder had learned it from his uncle, who had learned it from his grandmother. This visual demonstration matched diagrams in astronomy textbooks. In 2004, an astronomer named Kate, working in Alice Springs, spoke with women who wove baskets. They told her they only collected certain leaves during the time when the sun hides behind the moon. They said their great-grandmothers taught them this because plants were richer after the darkness. This isn't simply poetic. It hints at ecological impacts of eclipses, such as changes in temperature affecting plant sap. These examples show how physical evidence, ecological knowledge, and oral tradition align. Loop, could the idea of the sun stopping be tied to a specific ancient eclipse? It's a question for astronomers and storytellers alike. Bring the narrative together with a reflective tone. We began with the eerie image of the sun halting in the sky, and we've learned that this legend isn't just a fable. It's a composite of human observation, moral teaching, and scientific insight. Eclipses are among nature's most dramatic events. They have always stirred wonder and fear. For Aboriginal peoples, they were a reminder that everything, even the sun, could stop if law was broken. That belief anchored ethical behavior and community cohesion. Science now recognizes what these stories encode, an understanding of celestial mechanics, cycles, and even ecology. As researchers listen to elders, they discover patterns and details long overlooked. Oral tradition becomes a time capsule, preserving knowledge across millennia. There's still mystery here. No one can say for sure which exact eclipses gave rise to particular legends. Yet the synergy between story and science invites us to respect both. So next time you experience a solar eclipse, remember that you're sharing an event that echoed through ancestors' hearts. Imagine a grandmother telling the tale by firelight. Feel the chill, see the stars, hear the song, and know that you're part of a chain reaching back to when the sun seemed to stop. End with gratitude and encouragement. If this story reshaped how you see the sun and the sky, give this video a thumbs up. Share it with someone who loves mysteries of the universe or who's fascinated by ancient wisdom. Drop a comment with your thoughts or your own experience of an eclipse. We read everyone. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and tap the bell, because every like and share helps keep these stories alive. Thanks for staying with us until the end. Until next time, look up and listen to what the sky has to say.